more than ever, because we have all this choice and all these freedoms of what we can put into our consciousness, into our psyches even, there's a greater need to, I feel it's a greater need to really be more aware of how we're spending time, what we're giving our attention to. And as many people who have listened to me know, I have said so many times that what we put our attention on grows in our experience. It becomes more of what takes up our psychic space, you could say. It even becomes more influential in how our energetics are patterned, how our sleep is patterned, how our exercise and movement is patterned around what things we choose. And so if we are interested in nourishing ourselves on many different levels, physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, creatively, etc., it really does require a greater degree of consciousness these days to be really aware of the interplay between what we give our attention to and what that energizes, and how the patterns of our living map to that, and how the patterns of our consciousness and our narratives, our belief structures, our sense of self is responding to our choices. But in this realm of self-realization, it gets really interesting, because this is the territory that I'm interested in as a spiritual teacher, this journey of self-realization. It becomes especially interesting because if there's an over investment in what we're conscious of, if there's more of a fixation in certain realms of what we're feeding our psyche with, there is a certain pull and momentum into the world of objects, into the world of what we're aware of. And so in this path of self-realization, where I find it gets really interesting is inviting that sense of consciousness that is based in where we're aware from. Who is it that's aware? What are you that is here? What are you that is aware? And I think it's important as spiritual practitioners to not forget this piece, and to not become so involved in what we're conscious of that we forget who and what we are. That is consciousness itself. And so it does require a certain discipline of how our attention is invested, because if our attention is always being taken up and activated, being entertained or informed continuously with devices and the content in there, it becomes lopsided. And so it is valuable to take breaks and carry inquiry questions. Carry them into movement. I find that's really helpful. Carrying them into the rhythms of your day, as you're doing the dishes, as you're walking down the street, as you're out exercising, as you're sitting on your rocker, in your rocking chair, taking your dog out, whatever it is, just really continuing to revisit what is it to rest back into this sense of what you are as awareness. And when you rest back into this mode of, instead of being more forward, like this is what I'm aware of, you rest back into that sense of just simply awareing without it being overly about the content. When there's this resting back into this sense of awareing, And I mean really resting, where your identity as the observer just really softens and gives way to this general sense of awareness. When people take time to do that, it creates very different perspectives of being that lend themselves to connection, lend themselves to a kind of opening into a sense of the whole of the moment, opens into a sense of awareness that is taking in life in a more holistic way. Now, often I've talked about how energy follows attention, um, but energy also can map to our consciousness. And one person wrote in speaking about how they could feel different energies unfolding in their body, things that seem to be repatterning not only they didn't talk about this so much about repatterning their thoughts, which is what I was mentioning earlier in this presentation, but they're talking about how it was repatterning the energies in their body. And this is not uncommon, as people's energies free up from certain ways of organizing, they'll feel even their body's energetics free up. But that's why I think it's also important to continue to ask, what is this nature of awareness? What is this that I am? Or as I said earlier, what is it to be? Because there's a way that when you invite questions into this realm of direct experience, which is very kinesthetic, it's very much engaged through your five senses, through your body, your physical body, your energy body, the more you're really with this sense of what is it to be? What is this sense of being? What is it to know that? What I like to call being knowingly, be consciously, because there's this whole consciousness in our senses. Awareness isn't just separate from sight, sound, taste, etc. It's connected with your incarnation, your physical instrument and body mind. And so it becomes really important on a path of self-realization to continue to sense what is consciousness, not just as some abstract big mind that is sometimes thought of or referenced in the concept of consciousness as a whole, but what is consciousness through your body awareness, through what it feels like to be connected to your form, to feel that sense of being grounded and rooted. And as people's thinking minds and identities and thought free up, and the energetics of their system, even their body's energetics, start to reorganize, it's very important to come back to some rooted, grounded touchstones.